Global, Thomas here, in the woods to talk to you about some Industrial Revolution social changes over some royalty-free jazz that makes the video seem a little bit less awkward and unprofessional. Let's talk about family. Nowadays, many see marriage as unnecessary. There's not much reason for it aside from government incentives like tax cuts and insurance. It's just a weird gesture. Seriously, if you love someone so much, you'd be willing to marry them, wouldn't you also trust them enough that if they said they wanted to spend the rest of their life with you, you'd just believe them? It's a catch-22. Well, it actually makes sense if you think about it. Our customs are pretty temporary, and for thousands of years, marriage was primarily an economic gesture to help the family as a whole, and not so much this sacred love vow we know it as today. But then, beep beep, here comes the Industrial Revolution, and with it, a whole lot of change. While in this time the middle class may have largely kept marriage as an economic venture, the working class began to get married due to romance instead of waiting for an arrangement from a parent. And this was bound to happen. Everybody was moving to cities and working real long hours close together in factories. The closer you are to people, the more you see them, the more likely you are to have a romantic attraction, or just a sexual one. During this time there was a big influx in premarital births, and without something as easy as a pill to deal with that, a lot of parents became husband and wife. People begin to have only a few children, less mouths to feed. But as a result of people having a much higher likelihood of living past infancy, parents begin to feel comfortable becoming very attached to their children, and there begins to be an emphasis and appreciation of good parenting. Families started to live as a single unit in one household, as opposed to historical multi-generational houses. Single unit, most basic unit, atom, nucleus, nuclear. It's a nuclear family, which comes from the Latin nux, meaning nut, or in this case just the center of something, because nuts have shells on them. While this may have been the case, the extended family remained very important. As you've heard from the other groups, times were very tough for the working class, and extended families often lived close together and relied on each other for help. Speaking about times are tough, let's talk about injustice. More specifically, women's fight for suffrage. Because of the Industrial Revolution, many poor women who would not have otherwise entered the workforce. And as it often goes, this increase in responsibility rose questions like, hey, why can't I vote? And those who didn't enter the workforce felt the pressure of rigid gender roles that were forming. Working class women generally pushed for much more radical reforms for the time. As you probably know, women didn't gain the right to vote until 1920, but it's not like this process happened overnight. During the time of the Industrial Revolution, women's rights activists such as Linda Becker and Emmeline Pankhurst demanded women be given the right to vote and participate in politics. These activists were part of first-wave feminism. While modern third-wave feminism may be somewhat controversial, I choose not to comment, there isn't really any room for debate on the first one. During the time, there were many disadvantages on women. For one, they lacked many basic human rights and basically didn't have a legal identity. If your husband dies, you better find a new one quick, because you just can't inherit the land that he had. Luckily, moving later into the 1800s, there did begin to be reforms to give women more rights. Alright, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, check the description for the music I use, because that's what the website said to do, and good luck on the test. I'm gonna go home and eat lunch.